Welcome to the Courage Over Clarity podcast, where we focus not on perfection, but on choosing Christ daily and moving in faith. Hello, and welcome to the Courage Over Clarity podcast. I am your host, Deja, and I have the lovely honor of having my first guest on the podcast, and she is the lovely Shantae. I'm super excited to have this guest on the podcast, not only because she's my mom, but also because she is a very important part of my life. So I'm excited to see what God does with this episode. So yeah. Hey, Mom.
Hi, guys. Hello.
So to get started today, we're going to do some icebreakers. That's not normally something that we would do simply because I'm always on the podcast by myself. So today, since we have a guest, I want to do some icebreaker. So the first icebreaker question is, what is one word that you would use to describe yourself?
I think the one word that I would probably use to describe me in totality would probably be, caring.
Okay, caring. And what makes you say that? Like, why is that your word?
Because that's the kind of person I am. Like, I am a person that cares just about everybody. I can find some good in everybody. And I say that because sometimes I can find good in people who probably aren't deserving of that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of let them stick around a little bit too long. So caring would definitely be my answer.
Okay. Second question, what are 3 things that you love about yourself?
That I am caring, that I am a giver, and that I have a big heart.
Okay. I feel like those are all pretty self-explanatory. So I'll go on to the third and final question, which is, what is an area or a thing that you want for God to work on with you individually as a person? What is something you want him to work on in you?
Probably trusting in myself. Trusting in what the Holy Spirit gives me and accepting it and not questioning it if it doesn't fit into what I want it to fit into or what I want at that time.
Yeah.
So just trusting myself and my instincts and all the things like that.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out that you're specifically referring to trusting yourself as it applies to the way that God is moving in your life. Not just trusting yourself, but trusting God in you, trusting the Holy Spirit within you to lead you in the right directions and tell you what to do and, this, that, and the third. I think it's very important to acknowledge that because as people in the world, we already put way too much trust in ourselves as it is. But I think that when it comes to being a Christian, it's important for us to trust in the Holy Spirit to lead us every which way, every direction, with every decision. I had a previous episode where I talked about wanting to trust God with even the most minute details of my life, because even the small things matter to him. So I really love that you spoke about that. Okay, so those were our icebreaker questions. So now I want to move on to what we're going to be talking about in general today. The good stuff. In light of Mother's Day being last week, I wanted to take some time to connect with my mom because we're both moms. She, of course, has been my mom for the last 28 years. But I recently became a mom last year, so I have a soon-to-be 1-year-old. And so I just want to kind of talk a little bit about our faith walks and how our faith walk and motherhood kind of intertwine. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about. And when I think about mother-daughter relationships, oddly enough, the first thing that I think about is a story from the Bible, and it is Ruth and
I thought about that as soon as you said the story in the Bible. I was like, yeah. Because it really wasn't her mother, though.
Right, and that's why I said that, yeah. But I think, so Ruth and Naomi.
Yep.
automatically think of them because even though they were not mother and daughter by blood, I think their relationship is so significant. And one of the things I think that stands out to me the most, especially in the season that both you and I are in now, and I think that the relationship between Ruth and Naomi is a really great example of how support makes a difference in your life and how having the right mother figure in your life can really change the trajectory of your life.
Girl, I was just about to say the trajectory. Yeah, I definitely think it can change the trajectory because sometimes you can pick people that, or not even pick people, people can be put into your life and they're supposed to be your aunt, your godmother, your so on and so forth. And they ain't that. They, for whatever reason, you know, everybody has their own life experiences, but that's not what they represent to you.
Yeah.
They may represent that in name, and you care about them nonetheless, but what you felt like you should have got from them, you didn't get, and you may have found it in somebody else, you know. Same with, I know we're not talking about sisters, but this in that sense, because, you know, you can have women that aren't your actual sisters that you're more close to
right
than you are with your blood sisters.
I definitely think that we don't always talk openly about the simple fact that you are given a family at birth, but you can also make your own family, you know, just in general in life. I want for especially all of my listeners to be open to allowing people into their lives that God has sent. Because I think sometimes we can have this idea of like friendship hurt and, oh, I don't want to welcome anybody else in because I done been through this. Yeah. I done been through so much with females or with women. I just don't trust them. And I don't want to have any new friends because that's never done me well. I'm just going to stick with this and stick with that. Not really realizing like how much you're closing yourself off to what you could be experiencing. You're praying for sisterhood and friendship and relationships, and God is sending them into your life, but it may not be packaged in the way that you thought it would be.
Definitely. And also like, that can lead you to keeping people around, that, and I don't want to say no longer serve you because that sounds selfish, but not in a selfish way, but that they've just been there for a long time. Not that they're adding something to your life and you're feeding, you're sowing into them, they sowing into you, but it's just that you're comfortable. You know them. They've been there. They've always been there, but you're not contributing to each other's life. So you just kind of keep them there. Yeah. Instead of finding a new best friend or, you know, a sister figure or whatever, you're like, oh, well, I'll just stick around and keep this person around because they've been around or they know my stuff. So yeah, I think that doesn't always work because you outgrow people sometimes. Yeah. I know people don't like to talk about the fact that but you do. Sometimes you outgrow friends, people you thought you would be around forever. You sometimes y'all outgrow each other, and it's not that y'all can't love each other and care for each other, but it may not be to the extent that you initially thought that it would be.
Right.
You gotta be willing to change and accept new people.
I completely agree. I think so many of us have seen it, you know, on social media and everywhere else. Everybody boasts about, oh, I've even done it myself. I've been friends with this person for 10 years. I've been friends with this person for 20 years. This is my girl. This is my rock. This is my ace, blah, 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 woo-de-woo. But I think in thinking that way, again, you close yourself off to the possibility of someone coming into your life that may be what you need in that season. Yep. So I'll speak for myself. There was a time in my life where God was transitioning me into doing and being totally different. And he was shifting my focus. He was shifting, you know, the things that I enjoy. And that included shifting the people that were around me. And I think that some of the most difficult years of my life, as far as friendship is concerned, was due to me holding on to people because I had been friends with them for so long since, you know, like middle school and high school and things like that, wanting to maintain those friendships so bad in adulthood and not really understanding why it wasn't working. Like, you know, just feeling like something was not connecting. Like for whatever reason, me and these people, we just could not seem to get it right. And even though we still loved one another and cared for one another, we just couldn't be in each other's lives daily in the same capacity that we were previously. Right. And I had to learn to be okay with that, because when I became okay with that, I met some amazing women in college, like people that I know for a fact I will probably be friends with forever. But even if I don't,
they played a significant part in your
yes,
life.
Like they God brought them into my life for a purpose and for a reason. And I'm praying that he will allow me to stay connected with them and that we will continue to grow with one another. But if he doesn't, I'm still so grateful for the experiences and the time that I've shared with these women, because they helped me grow in some way or another throughout my life. And I've had to learn to be able to let go of friendships. And it doesn't mean like I have to, you know, block you or, you know, we got to have beef or whatever. Yeah. It's more so just like, maybe we go from hanging out every other week to maybe I see you once or twice a year, you know, like another hard lesson that I learned was not every friend has to serve the same purpose. Right. Like I don't have to have every friend where I can tell every secret where I can call about everything. Some friends are for specific reasons. And I had to learn to be comfortable with that. And that was also something that was really hard for me to like shift my way of thinking in.
Yeah. Yeah. I listened to something, I believe it was this morning or yesterday morning. It was a podcast actually with, what is her name? Megan
Ashley.
Megan Ashley.
And Jackie Hill Perry.
And Jackie Hill Perry. Yes,
I love you, Megan Ashley and Jackie Hill Perry. Okay.
I just listened to this podcast, and she was saying that and I may get this totally wrong, but I give you what the summation of it. But she was saying that, you know how sometimes we'll say people are in our lives for seasons, and she said, but hers was a little bit different. I have to look it up again to say exactly how she said it. But she said some people are for meals, some people are for I can't remember the other two, but basically it was like, you know, it's some people you can have, you can eat with, you can have dinner
meals,
with, ministry, and something else.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it was like, these people are for these. It's the same kind of concept as for seasons, but it's like they can stay around. But this is the person from church that, you know, I can sit down and have a meal with you. I might be there an hour. I can then, you know, it's somebody that I can go out and I know I can do ministry, whether that's singing in the choir together or so on and so forth. Like we share that thing that we both enjoy doing. And then there's a person, I cannot remember the last one, but basically that you can do all that and more with. Like it's just.
It was meals, ministry, and misery, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like, yeah. So I thought I could feel that, like how she explained it and like just how she talked about it. I was like, you know what? Yeah. Because there's certain people you'd be like, okay, you know, I can do this with her with this. But back to what you were saying, like I do definitely feel like there's people for different parts of your life. Like your friend that was your best friend in middle school might have been your best friend because at that time you were feeling, you know, you felt a little insecure, and maybe they were a little bit more outgoing, so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean that same friend has to be your friend in adulthood or even college and or high school, because they may go down an entirely different road. Like these are the years that you start to shape formatively. And, you know, not that it's a bad thing or a good thing. This friend may go down a road that you like, ooh, I don't know. Let me let you have, you know, but you've attached yourself to them so much that it's like, but if I pull away, then it's like, am I saying that I don't want to be your friend? No, it's just saying that where you're at right now in your life, I'm not there, or I just don't want to be there. So I'm going to let you have that. And then, you know, maybe, you know, come back around the block later on or whatever. But I feel like as women, because female relationships are so hard to keep and maintain that we overcompensate.
Yeah.
And try to hold on to people that you can go ahead and let her go.
Yeah.
You can go ahead. I'm sure you can find somebody that, that'll feed, that'll pour into you and that you'll have more in common with, instead of just holding on to this person because she was your homegirl in third grade.
Right.
Because y'all not, however
you're not
old,
in third grade
you're not
anymore.
a third grader. People aren't picking
changed.
on you, or you're not protecting her or whatever that dynamic was. Y'all both don't hate Miss Jones.
Right. That is so true. That is so true.
Y'all, Miss Jones is long gone. So you don't really, that's not a relationship that you need, especially if you don't feel like where you're at and they are, come together and, mix, because now you're just making something happen just for the sake of it.
Yeah. Forcing relationships. Oh my goodness. I've had some very bad experiences trying to make something work that is not working. And I'm so glad that I've kind of grown out of that and I'm able to see it for what it is now. And like you were saying before, like I'm able to love people from a distance, talk to them from time to time, and get together every once in a while without us having to be besties. I don't even really like to say best friend this, besties that, like, just because things change, things happen, life is like that. Like, this is someone I really love. This is someone that I really care about. My sister in Christ. Those kind of things, those aren't going to change.
Right.
Somebody who is my sister in Christ, she going to be my sister in Christ.
Right, because how do you change that? Like,
so I feel like that's kind of where I am in my life right now. And another thing that I don't know, maybe some people won't agree with it, but for me personally, in the phase that I'm in, if our friendship is not enjoyable, I am not looking to partake. Like, I just feel like life is stressful enough.
Right.
There is no reason why I should be beefing with a friend, someone that I choose to be around. Are you crazy?
Telling you my beef. Like, I'm supposed to be telling you why I don't like the girl at work, and so on and so forth. But if I gotta fight you and her, girl, what are we
doing? This is too much. I got too much dip on my chip, and I'm exhausted.
I don't want to talk to no people now.
That is too much. Like, I feel like friendship is a place of enjoyment, even in sometimes a place of sorrow. But if that's all we do, if we can only get together to gossip, or we can only get together to talk about how horrible our boyfriends or fiancés or husbands are, like, if that's where we bond, I need more from a friendship. Yes, that's a trauma bond. I need more from a friendship than just sorrow. Like, I want to be able to get together and go to a festival, go out to eat, just enjoy, go to the park, have a
work
picnic.
out with me. Like,
yes, let's go for a walk. Like, but we over here beefing, like, through text. Are you serious? I haven't done that in such a long time. In the friendships where I did have that happening, I had to just kind of like ask God to help me to let go. And when I tell you, I really used to struggle in friendships. So this is something I prayed about many a time. So I'm so glad that we came to this point, because I prayed about that many, many a times. God has heard me crying on my knees, asking him, like, why am I so terrible at friendship? Why am I this? Why am I? And it was because I was too invested. I was too invested in the wrong type of friendships, trying to make things happen that were not naturally happening. And that was the problem. When I relinquished that control and was just like, you know what, God, bring the women into my life that you want to bring into my life. It happened so authentically and so naturally. The women that are in my life right now, I could not be more grateful. And a lot of them, oddly enough, came from other areas of my life where we weren't really like super close, and we reconnected in adulthood, like I said, came back around the block. And now it's like, oh my gosh, like, I love these women, and I'm so grateful for those. Right. Like, I feel like, dang, girl, we missed out on so many good years. Right. But it's been so fruitful. It wasn't for that time. Like, I was a different person.
Because it might have soured out by now. Like, it was, it might have, anything could have happened. So, like, it just wasn't meant to be at those times. And I feel like talking about this, like, praying to God for good friends and good friendships and people that pour into you, I recently had an encounter that, about with a young lady that I met just randomly. Like, I won't say it was randomly, because I feel like it was God
ordained. Yeah.
Yes, because I had literally had it on my mind months ago, but wasn't really praying about it. but prayed about it a little bit here and there. But when we reconnected after, just a chance encounter at my job, like we reconnected, the night before we reconnected, I was telling Deja that like I had, well, not so much the night before, but you know how they say, that between the hours of like 2 and 5 in the morning or something, those are times when people struggle the most, with the enemy and with themselves, or it's when God will wake you to say, hey, this is some time you need to spend with me. Especially if it's a continuous thing.
Right.
And even if you feel like the enemy is messing with you, that is also the time that you need to be spending with God.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, this day, I woke up and I just could not get myself to go back to sleep. It was like 5. I'm like, oh, I got another good hour and a half to sleep, but it just would not release me. So I got up and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna pray. And I said it and I prayed and I, poured out my heart to God and, just told him, how I felt about the people in my life, the people that were around me, the things that were going on, and how I needed people in my life that poured into me and did, and dried my tears, fell asleep, slept for another good 40 minutes, got up, got dressed, and got a text from that person that I said I had the chance encounter with. Turns out her husband is a pastor. He had been saying since they met me that I had been in his heart, and it was just like I said, it was God, she should connect with me. And kept asking her and reminding her like, hey, have you talked to Shantae? And like I said, like we met one time, a chance encounter down at the county. I helped them out with something, and boom, they were gone. They were like, hey, we want to invite you to our wedding, so on and so forth. And cool, I'll come, no problem. But nothing of, I felt like, substance. But then after we did connect and I talked to her some more, the day that she met me, she got a whole nother feeling, vision, whatever you want to call it, from that meeting. She said that, as soon as she met me, and I was like, oh, I'll help them. It's just as a customer at work. She said she felt something different. She felt like that. Well, she said that morning that she stayed in a whole other county, but she felt in her spirit she needed to come to the county that I worked at, even though that's not where they live, to be married.
Yeah.
And she was just like, I wouldn't let it go. She was like, and I didn't know why. I just felt like God was telling me I need to go there. So I say that to say, like, sometimes, we always feel like, or sometimes we can feel like God doesn't hear us, or we're not hearing from God or whatever, but he definitely is hearing and listening, because at that point in my life and at this point in my life, her name is Key. Key is definitely somebody that I feel is God ordained or was sent to me by God to love on me, you know, to give me a relationship where it's purely love. There's no judgment. There's just love and kindness and sisterhood. And she's introduced me to other women in our, in her Bible study group and stuff. And I'm like, wow, like, this is what I have been praying for. This is what it feels like for women not to need really something from you, but just love on you because they love God. So,
yeah. I feel like those are some of like the best friendships. I feel like the women that I've met through my faith walk, I don't know, it's just something about it. It just hits different. Like, I feel like I'm able to learn and grow from these women in a way that really, really, like you mentioned before, like it replenishes me. Like they're able to fill my cup. I'm able to fill theirs. Yep. Like, I feel like it's a very fruitful friendship and relationship that I feel like I've been seeking all my life. Like, just wanting to connect with women who are like-minded, who love God. I wasn't always looking to connect with women in this way. I've always been a follower of Christ, like I talked about on the podcast before, but I just feel like as I got older, as life started happening, I really started to crave a deeper relationship with God. in college, I would go to like this little Bible study on and off. Sometimes I'll miss it. Sometimes I would go. Like I always had a heart for God, but I wasn't allowing him to lead me as much as I am now. Mm-hmm. And I can definitely see where maybe back then he was kind of tugging on my heart to be closer to him and trying to introduce me to women. But like you said before, like I wasn't ready at that time. So mm-hmm. those relationships just kind of flamed out. Like nothing really happened with it because I wasn't in a place to receive mm-hmm. the kind of love that God was trying to give me. And I had to go through a little bit of friendship hurt before I realized, okay, I see what you're doing here. Maybe I need to go back to some of these, or not even just go back to some of these friendships, but also being open to creating new friendships mm-hmm. and not being so stuck on, I've known her for this amount of years, or this been my girl since we was in diapers, and It's really cute to say, and it's great, but I don't care about saying like I've known this woman for 2 weeks and she has blessed my life so much. I love her. Yes. I am so mm-hmm. blessed to have known her like so much. It's a blessing
to know that you can say like, I've only known this woman a month, like key in my life. And I can get off the phone with her and she can send me stuff. And I just be like, okay, love you, sis. And mean it. Because I love you, because when I'm down, when my soul is hurting and heavy. I remember I called her one day and I was just like, hey, you busy? I text her and said, hey, you busy? And she was like, She called me back and she was like, what's going on? I said, what? I was like, nothing. I was just checking to see how your day was going. It was like a Sunday. She was like, so you ready? And she just kind of like, she was like, okay, I'm going upstairs in my room and close the door. She was like, so tell me what's going on. And I'm like, nothing. She like, so you gonna tell me what's, and so then it was like, and then, and I, with the ugly cry, and I was just like, I don't know, I didn't know, and she was like, it's okay, like, don't you ever, she's a sweetheart, so she's like, don't ever feel like you can't just, and I was trying my hardest, if you ever call somebody and like, it's on the tip of your throat.
I really want to say this, but I'm not sure.
Nothing, just, But like I said, she felt that, she heard that, she was like, we're the same person, so I know something's wrong. Mm-hmm. And she says that with such conviction, like, we're one and the same, and God put me in it, and it's great that she feels the same way that I do. Like, God put us together for a reason. Mm-hmm. So it's not me just feeling like, oh, I feel like God put her in my life. No, it's like, it's a mutual thing. We feel like God put us together for a reason. We're going to stay together until he show us what we supposed to be doing,
what is it?
Or what it is, or if we're just, she's at a point that she can feed into me for a point in my, where I'm at in my life right now, and I can feed into her for where she's at in her life, because I've been where she is. She's married, she's, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So she's just getting to her being a wife. Mm-hmm. I was the wife for 18 years. So it's some stuff that I can give her and that she can pour into me as a newly single woman, that is still trying to live a godly life,
Absolutely.
So she can feed that. So we have things that, we can give to each other. So yeah. But yeah, it's crazy how it all just happens and works, and, all of the things.
How it comes together. Mm-hmm. I feel like God is very intentional about the things that he does and the way he brings people together. And I'm so grateful for that. And kind of circling back to what we initially started talking about, I'm so grateful that God softened both of our hearts to one another, to know how to talk to one another,
how to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, to apologize, because I can definitely say, like, growing up, I feel like because we were so similar in attitude and demeanor and things like that, I feel like we often butt heads, and that was very difficult for me, just simply because we've already talked about how important it is to have women in your life that you can, look up to and connect with. And I always felt like I could come to you if there was something going on, but I also felt like there was often times where I just was so upset with you, or like didn't understand why you did what you did, or why you were so strict, or why you were so this and that.
Yeah.
And when I tell y'all now as an adult, I understand why her answer was no so often, because the world is really a crazy place. As a mother now, I'm like, oh, she could never do that. I would never let Elle do anything like that, because what in the world are you? No. I get it now, but back then I thought you were just being so strict and you were just saying no for the sake of saying no. Like, and we build up so, like, as children, we build up so much, I'll call it disdain for our parents for not reasons knowing. Like that are, when we get older, seem so silly and so trivial. And I'm so glad that God like washed my heart of those things, so that we could have a relationship, the relationship that we had when I was in college. Yeah. Because I never knew that I needed you until I got to college. And I feel like you can kind of speak to it yourself, but I feel like you realized how much you wanted to have a better relationship with me.
Definitely, most definitely.
When I went to college, because I'm not, upstairs or,
And so yes, and it was a task. It was a difficult task, because I also felt like, God gave you to me to build me, to make me who I am. But I also felt like when it was time for you to go away to college, that feeling of emptiness and like, where's she at? Like, like it was overwhelming to me at one point. Like, it was just like, oh, she really not here. Like, it was a lot for me to handle. So then in that time and in that phase in my life and your life, I was like, oh yeah, I just want to make sure she's fine. I miss her face, just the most random stuff like that. I was just like, dang, who I'm gonna go? Cause we would just be like, come to Walmart, man, we can walk around. And just the randomest stuff, I don't know, just the randomest stuff to do was just like, yep, it's just me and the boys, just and everybody like, no, we don't want to go, nah, like, I'm like, so yeah, so I feel like God was like, hey, I'm gonna show you how much you miss this person, and how much this person adds to your life. I mean, not that I didn't know before, but just not to the extent that I felt when you went away. So I definitely think it's seasons for mothers and daughters, just like it is for friendships and so on and so forth. But I also agree with you in saying I'm glad that at some point, for me, I can speak for me and say, I don't know when it was or how I came to the conclusion, but I just knew that in my soul I needed to. We never had like a bad relationship, but I needed to, I don't know, clean it up. Yeah. I don't know, shine it up. I don't know, like to admit to some of my wrongdoings and to get you to understand that it was done in love. Yeah. And it was never done in, I'm mad with you because you're da-da-da. It was all done in love. And as me being a young parent, as young as I was becoming a parent, even older grown people don't nobody have a book, right. Nobody comes with the book attached to the baby blanket. So, you just kind of winging it. And I was winging it, so at times I feel like I could be very, very much so overprotective and like, don't do that. Cause and we all carry the mistakes that we've made as parents. I mean, that we've made as young people
prior to being a parent.
Being a parent. And you're like, oh no, I remember when I had told mama that I was going X, Y, and Z, and I was really doing X, Y, and Z, and we pull that over onto our children, like, just so that because you don't want them to make the same mistakes. Right. But that can come off as being domineering and trying to control their whole existence. And that's not what you're meaning to do. You just want to keep them safe and keep them from doing some of the things, that you've done. But everybody has their own life to live. They have their own course. So you can't protect kids from everything. Right. So, but I feel like once I got to a point that I was just like, Lord, And I think a lot of parents, mothers, I'll say, and daughters that have a tumultuous relationship or whatever, for the mother, I can speak in me. I can say that you have to, and I know people say this in ministry all the time, but you have to die to yourself. Like you have to let yourself literally like die. Like you have to be like, you have to let the child know that I'm sorry. And it's hard for some people just to sit in. I'm sorry. Let your child tell you did this and I don't like when you did that and you made me feel this way, and say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that made you feel like that. I can tell you what I meant and how I meant for it to come across, but that does not invalidate how it made you feel.
Right.
And I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? Can you forgive me for that? I think at that point, when we had discussions like that, and it was at an honest level, like, I didn't know I made you feel that way.
Right.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to protect you. I just wanted you to feel, my love. And I thought you were feeling my love by doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And it made you feel like, ooh, she can't stand me. And it was the total opposite. So then I think it gave you some clarity and it gave me some clarity to be like, girl, we was both tripping, or whatever. Like, she been loving me. She loved me. And so like now we have an entirely different relationship. We have the best relationship, and we have like, I always send you memes to be like, me talking to my mama on the phone. Like she one of my friends, because she is really one of my friends now. Yes, like, and every time I see something fun to do, I'm like sending it to Deja, like, girl, we should do this. Let's go. So it's a blessing to have a child that you we love all of our children, but just that you just absolutely love, that you can spend time with and not be like, ooh, child, what time she leaving because she working my nerve. But that you actually be like, that you can call and say, hey, let me tell you what happened at work today. Yeah. Not she doing this. Let me tell you what my supervisor said, whatever. So it's great to have that kind of relationship where you just love the person that you made.
Yeah.
You just love them so much like that. It's just like, whoo, God gave me a good one. Because I tell people all the time, like, I absolutely have the best daughter. She is the best. Like, nobody can tell me that she's not, like, because she gets me. She is my true ride or die. And I'll tell that to anybody. My best friend, my sister, like, she's my true ride or die. Like, she's been there when I've been down. She's been when I've been up, and just back and forth. And even Deja had a big heart as a young child. Like, she's the kid that will come in there and hug on you if she thought you was crying or you were upset. Like, so if I'd ever feel like I've done anything right, it's Deja, because she is the best. She Deja boo, like, she the best. So yeah, I didn't talk up the whole time. I really appreciate
that. No. I feel like it's so important to talk about these kind of relationships and let people know, like, it's not just us. Like, you are able to create and curate a better relationship with your parent if that's what you desire
to do.
And just for context, y'all, I'm my mother's only daughter. So that's why we're so significantly close, because we're both women in a house full of men. Men and boys, because we have one that's still boys. Little.
Basketball, yes, football.
All the things, like, literally. And we were like, oh, let's do this. And they're like, I don't want to do that. So it's very different. But I will say another thing that came to mind while you were talking. I think from a daughter's perspective, I think that during those times that you were talking about too, I think that I realized that you did the absolute best that you could with what you had. You gave me the best of you. And as an adult, even before I became a mom, I couldn't do anything but respect that. Like, you can only respect someone for giving them, for them giving you their best. And I really, really appreciated all that you did, because I'm not just saying that you gave your best. You gave me so much of yourself and taught me so much throughout the years that I can truly look back on fondly. Like, I know that me and you had disagreements when I was growing up, but those things are not what stand out to me about our relationship.
Either. Like, I remember
so many good things, like so many good and fun times.
getting
so
your
much
wedding
more.
dress.
Yeah,
like,
you know, so much
stuff
more
like
than the
that
bad
when you went to
stuff.
prom and stuff. I remember, me too. Yeah, I definitely do. Like, and in those times, I feel like, ooh, child. I don't know why this child walk around with an attitude
Like, I don't know why
all
she
the
like
time.
that. And everybody looking at you like, she must not have met
She
herself
just like
before.
you. And I used
I
to be
remember
like,
thinking
that's
that when
not
I was a kid
me.
too. I was like, we act just alike. Like, we act just alike. I do exactly what you do.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like, I don't, but like she said, I don't remember those times. I could swear, like, I would just hold on to them. I'm like, I'll never forget what she said. Try to tell you.
Like, what did she do that one
Nothing.
time when I
You
was
remember?
upset with
I don't remember
her?
what you said,
Do you
girl. But
remember
remember
that?
when I popped you? Like,
No, not really.
remember when you was, or Deja
just
tell me, like,
don't.
remember I was on punishment for, and I be like, girl, what? That is a whole lie. She like, no, it's not.
That really happened.
That
She's like, well, I don't know. I don't recall
if
that
you
one.
say so.
There's a lot of stuff I remember. That ain't one of them.
At all. So yeah.
But
Yep.
that's so true though. I remember I have so many fond memories of our relationship, and now I have even more. And I'm so grateful that I get to raise my daughter while having such a great relationship with my mom, so that she can see what that looks like.
Yep.
Because I will tell everybody that knows me knows that I say this. Your children are looking and watching to see how you interact with people and the things that you do, because you are modeling for them, whether you mean to or not. That's why that old age way of thinking, do as I say and not as I do, does not work. Because I'm barely listening to what you're saying, but I'm seeing what you do whether I want to or not. You know, and so it's so important to me for my daughter to see me interact with my husband in a loving way, to see me interact with my mom in a loving way, my brothers, you know, all of my siblings, to pray, to have a relationship with God, to seek God. I want her to see all of it, because when it's her time, she will remember these things fondly, and she will model her lifestyle after those things. She won't get it perfect more likely than not, but when it's time, God will bring these things to her remembrance, to help mold her in the season that it's needed in. And it's so important for me to lead a life and be a good example for her, and for us, for you, for my husband, for all of us to be a good example for her, because, you know, we can grow from the things that we've learned, and now we can do better. So just like you gave me your best, I'm giving my best to her, and I pray that she can receive it as such. And that she will have an even better experience than what I had, because I had a great experience, you know, growing up with you. And I'm praying that she gets to have that great experience, or she views it as a great experience as well. And
you take little niblets and you know, from things that I may have dropped the ball on. You can take those little niblets and say, okay, so I'll do this different. You know, so I'll change this. Not that it was a bad, but I kind of remember what that made me feel like. So I'll just, you know, tweak it. I feel like that's the whole point of generation to generation, is you tweak it just a little bit. I'm going to change this so that this doesn't. And then I'll change just a little bit so that, and if you're not tweaking and changing, then you're not growing. If you're not growing, what you doing? So
not looking to raise her in the same exact way that I was raised. I'm looking to do and be better. Really, at the end of the day, what it all comes down to, and I've said this on other podcasts too, I'm living for God, and I want to show my child how to live for Him too, so that when I'm gone, she'll have no confusion as to what to do, where to go, and who to associate with, because not because she's connected to me and I've taught her oh so well, but because she's connected to Christ, and Christ will lead her in the direction that she needs to go, regardless of if I'm present or not. Because I won't lie, before we close, I'll say something that really rang true for me back in the day. I felt like at a certain time in my life, I felt like as long as my mom is around, I'll be fine. Everything can be worked out. Everything will be okay. But then I realized that I was putting way too much pressure on you to be and do everything, and to be, I don't know, to not even allowing you to really be human at a certain point, because I needed for you to be perfect so that I knew how to be perfect. And I think God had to create some distance between us, i.e. me going to college, for me to see like, she is a human being person, like that is experiencing life every single day. Like she is doing the same thing I'm doing, just with a child. Like she is doing all this for the first time, just like me. So it's not fair for me to put her on this pedestal. She needs to be allowed to be a human, just like I'm allowed to be a human and make mistakes and, you know, say the wrong thing sometimes and this, that, and the third. And I needed to look to God and to pray and to seek him in a way that I hadn't before, in order to allow him to shed this light onto you for me to see you clearly.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't take anything else from this podcast episode, I just want for you to choose to see your parents, your friends, whoever you're connected to, whoever comes to mind when you hear this message, to choose to see them the way that God sees them.
Imperfect.
As beautiful, as lovely, as his creation, as like him, and allow him to shed this light onto them so you can see them in full and not just what you want to see. I think that is so important, and maybe it'll change the way y'all communicate, or maybe change the relationship that y'all have for the better. But you first have to seek him in order to even get to that point. We always try to do things within our own timing and our own will and our own way, when God is just asking us to seek him, and everything else will be given unto us.
Yep.
And so I just pray that people really receive that message, and that this podcast episode gives you the courage to seek God and begin to shift and change the relationships in your life.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree. Definitely. Like, give somebody a chance.
Yeah.
Give somebody that you
give them grace.
Yeah, give them grace. Give them a chance. Somebody that you don't feel like you have given enough grace to, or that you just feel like, I know it's somebody in the back of your mind as you listen to the podcast that you'll say, I sure haven't talked to her. Whether it's a sister or whoever, or, you know, maybe I should try one more time, or whatever. You should try it. Or just tell somebody, you know, I don't know how that made you feel, but I miss you, you know, or whatever, you know, or if it's somebody that you feel like your time with them has expired, pray about it.
Yeah. Give it to God anyway. Ask him to release your heart of the things that have bothered you or angered you about that person, so that you can forgive them, so that they can forgive you.
Yeah.
Just ask him to clean it up. Like you said before, like ask him to clean it up for you. Because sometimes we can't do that on our own, even though we've tried. And I told y'all that at the beginning of the podcast. I used to try and make relationships work and this, that, and the third. I had to give it to God to really see it for what it was. And until I did that, I was sad. I was miserable. I was crying. I was feeling some type of way about myself, about other people, because I'm like, why isn't this working? Is it me? Is it them? And instead of playing the blame game, give it to God and allow him to do with it what he will. That's the best advice that I can give you. So yeah, we're coming to a close because this has been our longest podcast episode thus far. But we have two people. We have two people, so it makes a difference. But yeah, so we'll definitely have my mom on the podcast again at a later date. Because we have some really great conversations. So yeah. I just pray that this podcast episode blesses you, and that you take the time to really think about the person that God has placed on your heart while listening to this episode, and that you ask him what he wants for you to do next. Don't just bust a move and then be like, girl, didn't you say that I was supposed to No. Listen to this last part. Ask and seek God on what you need to do for this relationship or this friendship or what have you. Don't do what I do. Do what he told you to do.
Right.
Okay? So that is where I will leave you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to talking with y'all again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. See y'all next time.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment and share it with someone, and follow our Instagram @_CourageOverClarity for all updates. Also, don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave a 5-star rating and a heartfelt review. In doing this, you are helping others just like you discover the podcast. Share not for my benefit, but as a way to spread the gospel, especially if this has blessed you in any way. Until next time, I love you, but remember, God loves you more.